Damn again.
I'm really bummed I don't know how to use a calendar.
Like in your phone.
Just in general.
Mm.
Like I looked at the date and I was so excited that today was National Coffee Day,
Mm.
only to find out that it's not the 29th.
Damn.
So we're a little early.
Well, if people listen to this tomorrow, they'll be lucky because it'll be National Coffee Day.
Mm-hmm.
But if they listen to it today and they're watching live, then they won't.
Mm.
The question becomes, when will then be now? And the answer to that is soon. I've watched Spaceballs enough to know that.
My Schwartz is as big as yours.
Oh.
Or wait, yours is as big as mine.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
We can go back to the bathroom
I was
and
just
check.
thinking about something because of a joke I made earlier, and this is totally racist, so everybody bear with me. But, white people make jokes about like their girl leaving them for a black guy. And I thought like that is pretty like it's a racist thing, but we kind of know why, right? There's a certain stigma about black males, right? About them maybe having a little bit more downstairs than us.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps that might be true, at least from some of the documentaries that Smokey's told me about. But the reverse happens too. It's usually not black guys though that have this fear that a white guy is going to come in and sweep their girl off their feet, right?
Right.
But we've heard it before about black girls making fun of other black girls for them getting left for a white woman, right? We've heard that before.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't know. I just thought that was funny. I don't know, just an odd humor thing. But sometimes people just I don't know. They just want to they always want to sweep everything under the rug. They always want to sweep everything under the rug in terms of certain races are better at certain things, and I know that people have been blasted on this kind of thing in the past. But watching football last night, and the defensive end for the Vikings just shredded, absolutely shredded. Now, it's not like there's not any white guys that aren't shredded, but let's make a comparison here. Our version of LeBron James. The white version of LeBron James, the closest thing that I can think of. In modern times, I have somebody different in mind, but kind of going old school and thinking of a Hall of Famer is Larry Bird. There's a huge difference between Larry Bird and LeBron James.
Huge
difference. Well, some can argue that Larry Bird is even better, and like Larry Bird won a lot of championships, and Larry Bird was a winner his entire career. I mean, he was a savage, absolute savage, but in terms of like athleticism, there's a huge difference. And Larry Bird was very athletic for how big he was. And you can argue that he may have been one of the most athletic white basketball players of all time, considering how big he was. He's like 6'7", But there's just a huge difference between him and LeBron James. LeBron James could quite possibly be the most athletic person we've ever seen. These are just observations. These are just, I'm not trying to like stir anything up. It's just things that I've noticed when I was watching this football game last night. And I was thinking, okay, like more modern times, who is the equivalent to LeBron? That matches up size-wise, strength-wise, mobility, all these different things. You got somebody like Gronkowski. Gronkowski is very coordinated. He's in good shape, but he's still not LeBron James. LeBron James is still just, a mutant. He's on another level.
Tim Tebow's pretty jacked.
Tim Tebow is jacked.
Yeah.
And Tim Tebow is a hell of an athlete. NFL-wise, he didn't turn into the monster that people maybe thought that he would. Some people thought that he wasn't going to turn into anything, but he's one of the greatest college football players of all time. I don't know. It's a really interesting thing, and it's just I don't know. I don't know. I won't get into it too deep because I don't want to throw myself under the bus too much. But it's just I don't know, just the way things are, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, Andrew and I benched with some chains last night, some heavy-ass chains. Each chain weighs 20 pounds. So what I was trying to explain to Andrew when we were doing the workout, I didn't want to get in his head too much about it, but when you use the chains the way that we did, which we used them for pretty much the entire workout. Now, some people will add chains as they get to a certain weight. We decided...
Oh.
Whoa, that was Eminem. Eminem came charging in.
Hold on.
That was sick. Do that again.
I didn't know I had the audio up. I don't think people heard that. I think just you heard that.
Oh, anyway. So yeah, we were using some chains, and the chains help to accommodate resistance. And the way that we were using them, we used them for most of the workout. And the chains, excuse me, I just ate some breakfast. By accommodating resistance, you get more weight at the top, less weight at the bottom. It can help with acceleration. It can help with speed training. It can help with all kinds of things. But basically, the weights are deloaded at the bottom. The weights are lighter at the bottom, and they're heavier at the top. And so you could take advantage of this, if you have the ability to use bands or use chains. And when the weights are lighter at the bottom, it can feel really good on your body because when the weights are heavy all the way through the range of motion, sometimes it starts to kill your elbows and shoulders and different things. And so we decided yesterday to use the chains to accommodate resistance, and we went after it. We went for it yesterday, and I ended up with a pretty big weight. But what happens during the workout is when you use the chains for most of the workout and you're not adding them as you go, you get fatigued really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to set Andrew up for failure, but I was kind of just letting him know ahead of time, your best bench is around 200 pounds or so. You're not going to bench, 200 pounds with the chains on because it looks like you should be able to do it because they don't seem like they're that heavy.
Yeah.
But when you start to add it up, each chain is 20 pounds. And when you do on-rack the weight, there's probably 35, and depending on arm length and stuff, probably almost 35 extra pounds on there. And I think you handled, 185?
I did 185 and then a chain on each side.
And you did 185 for, I think you did it for 2 reps, right?
Yeah, for a double, yeah.
Yeah, so 185, and it's actually each chain is 20 pounds. So it's an additional 30, 40 pounds. You kind of add that up. The cool thing is that's more weight than you've ever bench pressed before.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is awesome.
I mean, I did 225 with the slingshot on, so that was cool. But what was awesome about the chains is you don't really actually know what it's gonna, what it is really. Right. So if you would have told me, hey, you're about to do 225 at the top, I would have got really, really worried. I would have got nervous, and I would have felt like I was gonna get stuck. But with the chains, it coming off at the bottom, you can really load up and shoot that shit off like a rocket.
Yeah, you can kind of accelerate into it because, again, the weights are lighter at the bottom.
Right.
And, some people get all bent out of shape about the different techniques and different styles of training that you use. I've always been a huge proponent of why not use everything? I think just about everything is effective, unless you're just being foolish.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I've seen a lot of people become really, really strong from using what I would consider foolish training methods, almost despite themselves. Now, that can be confusing because sometimes, some of the best guys have these really weird methods. I actually remember one lifter in particular sharing with other lifters that whenever he got injured, he would inject the injury with Tren, and then he said he would be fine. And I was like, okay. I'm like, that doesn't make, there's no scenario where that makes any sense at all. But I mean, it works for that particular person, and then go for it.
You're just hating on bro science again.
I know.
Somebody's asking, what about speed work for a beginner? Do you think that's a good idea?
So when I think about our workouts that Andrew and I are doing, Andrew is a beginner. Especially when it comes to powerlifting, when it comes to strength training, you're relatively new to it all. So when I think about our training, I'm not just thinking about myself. That's why we started out with benching yesterday. There's no more important thing that you can do than to figure out how can you handle the most amount of weight.
Mm-hmm.
That's why bench presses, squats, and deadlifts are so effective. Clean and jerk, snatches, front squats, overhead squats, all those lifts are great. But they won't allow you to use a great amount of weight because they're so challenging. They're so hard. For a more advanced lifter, it's important to find stuff that's really hard and awkward to do. All the way to the point where if you squat 405, you want to find something that is so challenging that you can only use 135 pounds for it. So, but as a beginner lifter, you're looking for the opposite. You really don't want to always be pre-fatigued going into an exercise. Sometimes it's good, and that's why we do it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you kind of notice, it's almost like every other week, like kind of every other week where we're kind of overloading something. And the situation with your lower back and stuff's a little different because I'm trying to get a lot of volume into your back, and that's just going to take a little bit of time to build some of that up. But basically, to answer that guy's question, I don't think that speed training is great for newer lifters. Where it can be effective, the standard 10 sets of 2 or 10 sets of 3 from Westside Barbell is you can work on your form technique. You can work on your form and your technique. You can work on practicing perfectly and lifting the weight with precision. So it gives you an opportunity to think about the weight. And in my book, Jacked and Tan, that I'm actually working on right now, that is turning out to be many, many pages long, probably like 300 pages long. It explains in there that I think that for newer lifters, it's a little bit better to utilize speed training, to utilize the methods, and to apply some of the principles of speed training, but just to call it something different. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think it's a great idea to try to go fast, to try to sprint when you haven't really learned how to jog yet. Mm. You know, that's kind of the way that I'm looking at it is from that perspective. So I just don't think that speed training would be the best usage of your time, although it can be really effective. And again, my main thing is like use those sets and use those reps more for practice than anything else. If you want to really follow the Westside Barbell program, then that would be how I would do it. I wouldn't have the speed day be like 50%. I would call it more of a practice day, and I would use 50 to 60%, and I'd move a little bit slower on purpose.
Makes sense.
Because you don't want to try to, if you basically here's the truth of it. So somebody that can bench press 500 pounds can take 135 pounds with some bands on there and go absolutely crazy with it to the point where you're like, oh my God, that guy just went nuts with that weight, and he benched it 3 times and it was like insanely fast. Now somebody that benches 315 will take that same weight and it will just move a lot slower. So one guy is very productive with it because he's very efficient at moving the weight to a speed that is necessary for him to make progress, and the other guy is moving a lot slower. And so therefore, it's not the greatest usage of your time to always focus in on speed training, especially if you're a newer lifter.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Day where it's 10 sets of 3, and there's like a minute rest in between each set. But rather than going like hell, rather than worry about how fast you're going, I would worry about how good your form looks. Make every lift perfect. And 10 sets of 3 is a great way of doing it because if you do 3 sets of 10 and you try to do the lift perfectly, then the amount of weight that you have to use is going to be reduced, and your form will probably break down because you'll get fatigued during the set. So 10 sets of 3 is nice with a minute break in between each set. You're breaking it up and you're getting 3 perfect reps, 3 perfect reps, 3 perfect reps. Whereas if you did 3 sets of 10, you might get 6 perfect reps on each set. And that would kind of net you out at like around 24 reps or so, rather than, or 18 reps somewhere in there, rather than you, hitting out 30 really solid reps. And so you want to make sure that you are, honing in on that form and technique. Something that I, did yesterday too, and part of the reason why I did it is last week when I benched 405 for 3, the internet, the haters, they said that wasn't enough weight. So that's why I decided to put 40 pounds of chains on there to show everybody, hey, I still got some strength, and I'm just building up. I really honestly don't care what people say, but I just think it's funny, So like I did a bodybuilding show, and people are like, oh, that's cool, he's gonna get in shape, and then they watch, and it's like 2 weeks later, and they're like, oh, he thinks he's cool, he thinks he has abs. And then 4 weeks go by, and they're like, "Oh wait, he kind of does have abs." And then 6 weeks go by, and then finally the 8 weeks went by, and they ain't got nothing to say anymore, right?
So what's next?
And yeah, I know. And then everyone's like, "What's next? What's next?" And I feel like Doug Flutie when he played when he played football. It was like he could never get a starting position, but every time he played, he won. Every time, he had to prove himself over and over again. I feel like I just get stuck in this mode. It's probably my own fault. It's probably my own thinking. No one else probably really cares that much, but I feel strong. I feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to continue to push that. I'm going to continue to get a little bit bigger and get a little bit more swole for the next couple weeks, and then it'll be time to kind of cut everything back up again. But I just, it's just weird. I see people, they're like, oh, I don't know, like he lost so much strength, and it's like, I don't know what you were following before. Yeah, I did used to rep 500 for like 5 reps and stuff, and I'm not at that strength anymore, but I also haven't trained that way in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a byproduct of like 20 years of training and really focused training for months at a time. Focused eating, focused sleeping on just that one thing. And now I was coming off some injuries, and I was coming off the bodybuilding show. And now it's kind of focused in back on that strength. And I just like to show people, like, hey, it's not hard. You focus in on something. You give it the best effort you can. And I don't have any hopes or even care to get back to the strength that I was. That would take too great of an effort. It would take too long. And it would take too much time, just in general. But I just want to show people, like, look, you can bounce back and forth between these things. And it doesn't have to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one thing that's the missing ingredient from the missing ingredient that I see is just people believing in themselves. And I think that's why America's fat. I think that's why America is riddled with these diseases, heart disease, diabetes. A lot of these things are preventable. I even think that a lot of times people's mental health is compromised by the foods that they eat. I'm not saying everybody. I'm not saying all conditions, but you look at a guy like is it Jordan Peterson? Is his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I look at a guy like Jordan Peterson, extremely intelligent guy. He packs out some huge facilities when he goes and speaks, but he's a doctor, very knowledgeable, but he didn't have the knowledge to know that his eating was causing this giant cascade of problems that kind of messed up everything. And then his own child kind of went through something similar, and her circumstances were even worse. And I'm not saying everything's always preventable, but now he does the carnivore diet, and he thinks everything's a lot better. And it's belief. He at some point he didn't believe that was true, or otherwise he would have done it, or he didn't believe that it would work for him, or he didn't believe that he could actually do it. People are fat, and people are like not acting on the things that they should be doing. Something that you should be doing. It's a very powerful word when somebody says should and could and would. If going for a walk is healthy, then why aren't you going for a walk? An apple a day, fill in the blank, an apple a day, right? Like whoever made that statement, whether it's an apple, it doesn't really matter. The apple can represent whatever you think is healthy, right? But just some sort of practice or recognition of you need to eat healthy every day. Somewhere in the day you got to have something at least halfway healthy, or at least need to be mindful of your health and nutrition every day. So it's what if a comment like that, an apple a day, what if a comment like that is actually true, and then nobody's doing it?
It's so obvious and right in front of us, and we never did it.
Right, and it's just because of people's belief. There's people that are like, I don't really believe that. I don't really buy that. I know, my grandma used to have Jolly Ranchers every day, and she barely ate, and she lived till she was 107, and she smoked. And it's like, okay, well, and that's what the things that people see change their beliefs, and then the things that people want to believe, they're going to kind of just lean towards that more. They're going to say, oh, Oprah said it's okay that I'm not losing weight, so I'm going to kind of believe her. It's okay for me to continue to eat bread. It's okay for me to kind of, I should just be proud of myself. I should just be happy with myself. And all those things are great, but they're not going to help you lose weight. They're not going to help you make the change that is necessary for you to head in the right direction.
You putting on the extra chains on the 400-pound bench just reminds me of Dr. Dre when he's saying, "Now everybody want to talk about guns like I ain't got none. What you think I sold them all?" It's like, people want to talk about me pushing weight. What you think I don't work hard?
That's right.
Watch this, motherfucker.
That's right. That's right.
So that's all I could think of when you were saying that. Because it's like, yeah, this is what we do. We're going to lift heavy weights. That's
what we do. That's what we believe in. And that's what we'll always go back to. What's next? People keep saying what's next kind of thing. And it's not even what's next. It's what's been always, it's kind of the old adage too of like, you don't ever worry about getting ready. You're just ready all the time, and I feel I'm pretty ready all the time to kind of go one way or the other, whether it be, getting leaner and getting stronger, or, being flexible, in everything that you do. I was listening to something the other day. It was talk about Benjamin Franklin. And everybody knows Benjamin Franklin is on a $100 bill, first of all. And everybody knows, he's associated with electricity and all that good stuff. But Ben Franklin was like one of the first people to talk about like kind of self-motivation. And he would put these reports, he'd put this information within these reports about crops, because that's all people cared about at the time. So he'd put this information, it would say like the weather, it'd say that just different reports, and he'd put the information in there, and he just had these different thoughts about, how people can work on being better. And one of the things he said is, your life needs to be plastic. Your life needs to be bendable. Your life needs to be flexible. And that's somebody who's, talking from a long ass time ago. That's not somebody from, that's not somebody saying something from
an Instagram post.
Yeah, it's not a more modern, Instagram post. A couple other things he said that I thought was amazing, like, and I know that we talk about these things all the time, but I feel like they can't be talked about enough, because I think that your beliefs are a really important thing. And I think the things that you could be doing and the things that you should be doing, that you're not doing, is something that you need to internalize. You need to figure out, why aren't you doing it? You take a couple semesters at a local junior college because you want to be better at photography, or you want to learn something about music or whatever, and then you don't even go to the classes, or you're not even studying, or whatever the case is. I mean, there's just so many different things. I deal with a lot of people and know a lot of people that won't make the leap to change jobs, or won't make the leap to move somewhere, won't make the leap to just do something to spark a change in their life. I have a friend who's very successful, and he's like, I just want to quit my job, and I just, I'd rather just be a coach somewhere. Damn. And I'm like, I don't understand why you don't.
Right.
And he's like, I make a lot of money. I'm like, yes, you make a lot of money, but you have made a lot of money. So forget about your job. Go in there and tell them that you quit, and figure out everything else from there. You'll be totally fine.
People get so scared, though.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense, because the rationale is like, well, I won't have that income anymore. Maybe I won't be able to live the same lifestyle. But really, not a lot of things will really change. If you were smart. Now, if you were blowing your money, that's kind of different. If you're really spending some money and you don't. But a lot of people aren't in the position that I'm in, where like I have so much money out the door all the time because of the business that I run. He's not in that. He's not in that situation. He actually just works for somebody else. So he's been able to accumulate money, and so he should be totally fine to be able to, make that pivot. Life's too short. Life's too short to not figure out what it is you want to do. Life's too short for these kind of bullshit conversations with people that you don't care about. You know, it really is. Like, you know, you go to a family gathering at Christmas and you see Uncle so and so, and he's like, "Hey, Mark," like, "Hey,
Mhm.
Bill," and then you both just sit there,
Mhm.
and it's all awkward and weird, and like, "Hey, you still got that little gym thing going on, or what?"
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh my God, I just want to clothesline this guy."
I get it all the time.
Right?
You still taking pictures and stuff? Yeah, and stuff.
Yeah. Why does it always seem so derogatory?
It really does.
It
I don't
does for
know.
some reason. It's like maybe it's our own like internal thing that we're
No,
doing,
'cause
or maybe it's just them.
I mean, I've met people, and be like, "Oh, well, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm a photographer." Oh, like no, you don't understand. Like I do it like every single day. Yeah, that's cool. Like no, you like I just bought a house. Like we're doing really well, and then at that point I'm like, well, I'm not trying to brag, but like you don't
No, it's
get
like a cool job. It's
yeah,
fun.
like you don't get it. It's okay, cool. Like
Right.
no, I'm not hashtag entrepreneur. Like I actually work.
Yeah, like, oh, guy doesn't have a job.
Yeah,
He's an artist.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the feeling I get, and I'm just like, no, you don't understand. Like I work
That's a
way
weird thing
harder
too,
than
because
you.
like, why did someone even ask? What would get them excited?
Right.
You know, I'm a writer. They
Mhm.
would probably go,
Mhm.
oh.
You write poems in the park. Cool.
Yeah,
You're a writer.
what would spark them? What would get them fired up? You know, yeah, it is a weird thing. It's like, why the fuck did you even ask me in the
Yeah.
first place?
I think maybe just like the like if you were to say, "Oh, I'm a doctor." Oh, no shit. It's
Yeah.
like you make a lot of money.
Right,
I
right.
think maybe like a dollar sign attached to it.
Right. Yeah, you're a lawyer. They kind of think something is automatically. Yeah, they just automatically have assumptions, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Some of the other things that I was looking at when I was listening to this thing, um, that Ben Franklin was saying, um, you know, he talked about happiness and how happiness comes to be, and you know, people talk about success, and then they get kind of confused, and people say success and money are like separate things, and they they're not really actually. Success and money go hand in hand in a lot of ways, because success and finances can help with financial freedom,
Hmm.
which can help with happiness in a lot of ways. So what we're really looking for all the time is we're really looking for progress, and we're looking for being happy. Usually if you progress, usually you're happy, right? If you make progress in something, then you feel good.
Hmm.
If you did a better job at something this week than you did last week, and someone says, "Hey, that's a job well done," and you know that it's a job well done, you're like, "Hell yeah, that
Hmm.
feels great. That's awesome."
Hmm.
And then sometimes you get rewarded financially for it, right? And you're like, "Well, shit, this is awesome.
Hmm.
Like I learned more. Um, I'm more efficient. I'm doing things faster just because I learned more, and now I'm getting rewarded for it." Like it didn't maybe necessarily take you. Sometimes it takes you more time, but it didn't necessarily cost you any more time. Sometimes it's just because you became a lot more efficient since you started here.
Hmm.
You know, you're able to do a lot more things, so you become more valuable as we move along, right? And you're trying to figure out ways of being happy, ways of being satisfied, and that's when you start to hear people talk about like the work life balance, and that's some of the stuff I think is kind of dumb because um, it, it 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 shouldn't be. It should be stuff that your subconscious mind. It should be stuff that's like on your radar
Hmm.
all the time. Like I worked 3 days in a row, and I have not been around my family at all, and I need to get my ass back home. Like it should be on your mind because you want to be with your family,
Hmm.
because you enjoy your family. Um, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be like, oh shit, oh I got to schedule the family in there too because that's what I'm supposed to do. So it's not a like supposed to do or a have to do. It's a I want to do type of thing, which when it's a priority, what happens? You make it happen.
Hmm.
It happens,
Well,
right?
it doesn't just happen. You find a way to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you find a way to make it happen. And
Hmm.
sometimes you do have to schedule like, if we're talking relationship wise, then yeah, you do need to go out of your way to schedule date night and stuff, especially if you have a kid. You got to figure out, what are we going to do with the kid? Where are they where are they going to be at? What
Hmm.
are we doing with them? And is it a family outing, or is it just the two of us? Or some of these things get more complicated, and they do need to be scheduled. But the way I hear people talking about it, kind of sounds to me like they'd rather be doing their job rather than be home. And then it's like, well, you might need to slow down a little bit with your job, or you might need to have a conversation, because it might be something a little bit different going on than what you think. Maybe your goals got a hold of you.
I'd say just watch the movie Click.
Yeah, there you go.
Have you seen with Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I've seen it before, like, when it first came out or whatever, but we watched it over the weekend and it hit me way different this time around. I was like, oh my gosh. So after watching that, I've been actually trying to.
You've been healed.
Yeah, but no, I've been there too. Like, I mean, last night after we trained, I wanted to finish up some work before I went home. So I text my girl and I'm like, hey, pack up and head out now and work a little bit at home, or finish everything right now. So that way, by the time I get home, I don't have to even look at a computer. And so we both agreed to just like let traffic pass and then finish up whatever I had left.
Right.
And then, went home and we watched Ozark.
Nice. How do you like that show?
It's the first season was a little slow, but then it ramps up really hard. Second season is insane.
It's on season 2.
Yeah, it's really good so far. A lot of craziness happening, but
I gotta check it out because I could use it. I could use a show. I don't have any shows right now. I mean, I got some football. I've been watching some football, so that's been awesome.
Yeah, I tried showing my dad an episode of Daredevil, and he was like all into it. And then I look over and he's passed out asleep.
Oh, shit.
I look over and I'm like, oh, he's gonna love this part, and he's snoring. I'm like, you're so old. That's where I get it from.
Man, there's nothing better than getting that snooze. But like, as you know, from reading the book that you're reading, like, I mean, sleep and food, sleep, food, phone, over and over again. It's like, those are the 3 major problems. Not terrorism. It's not race wars. It's sleep, food, and your phone.
I agree.
Because one thing that I actually really worry about, I think that, and I don't want to scare the shit out of everybody, but I really think that something really horrible is going to happen through social media, because there's been in our history, there's been people that have led people to do horrific things. Sometimes in small groups and sometimes in pretty large groups. You got like the Waco incident from years ago. You got like Charlie Manson from years ago. And on a larger scale, you got someone like Hitler, right? Well, can these quote-unquote influencers that are on the internet, that are on Instagram, can they influence people to make bad choices? Can they influence somebody to throw a brick through the window of your house?
Absolutely.
I think they can.
Yeah.
And that's scary, because maybe they can't do it to you and I, because maybe we're like a little older, but they can do it to a younger generation. Start getting those 14, 15, 17-year-old kids pissed off. And you might think they're just kids. Those fuckers are strong, man. Those kids can do some damage. The amount of what they were able to do and conjure up when they were frustrated with all the school shootings and everything. They ended up having one of the biggest rallies like in the history of America. Just these 14-year-old kids that were pissed that their school got shot up. And that was magnificent. That's actually positive. But I think that, but my point is that was all through social media. They were able to get the backing through social media, and I think it just, I don't know. I think something insane, and then there's like artificial intelligence. There's other things that can kind of factor in there that can make everything 100 times worse.
Yeah, you got to check out Black Mirror. I think each season's only like maybe 6 episodes, but none of the episodes have anything to do with each other. But it's exactly what you're saying. It's like all like technology and social media turning bad on us.
Right.
And like it gets crazy. Like, I think you'll really like it, especially if you don't have time to like really dig into a whole like
I'll check it out.
Yeah, I start at season 1, episode 1, because as they get get more popular, the production value goes way up. But it doesn't necessarily mean it gets better. It's just more cool visuals and stuff. But the original stuff is like all from the UK, and it's exactly what you just said. It's like really eye opening. Like, oh shit, this could happen.
Right.
You know, and some of it's already happening right now with like stupid like the ice bucket challenge or whatever. It's like, what if it was, I don't know, something dumb?
Yeah. Well,
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what if people didn't realize that like 1 out of every 10 people could have a heart attack from something like that? You know, like I mean, it could be
Right.
something like that could be detrimental. You know, and you know, I think people are on social media because it becomes addicting. I think they're on there and they're trying to like get something that you never actually get your cup filled up, you know, if you will. You never really get fulfilled on there. And I think that you are, and it just never really happens. And if it does happen, then it's like, oh, on to the next one. Like you might have a goal, like I would be so cool if I got like 1,000 likes. That'd be kind of fun.
Right.
You know, from this particular picture or this particular thing that I did. And then you get 1,000 likes and it's like that lasts for, you know, it lasts for 30 seconds, and then you see somebody else got 1,500 likes or whatever, or there's a damaging comment on there, and you're sad. And it never really does for you what you want it to do. And I think that a lot of people don't recognize how addicting it really is. And I think another thing too is I don't think that people recognize that it is taking over, like raising our children in some way. You know, if you look at television, you know, television used to be kind of guilty of that, and that's people would be like, you can't sit in front of a TV for hours on end. And a lot of kids would sit in front of the television forever, but there's only so much the TV could do. There's quite a bit of restriction on the television. There's no nudity, less profanity. You know, nowadays, some respects, and so I just think everybody just needs to just like your health, just like your fitness. Everyone just needs to be aware of it.
Yeah.
Just take note.
Yeah, I'm really digging the screen time app on the new iOS 12, because like I'll be looking at my phone and all of a sudden it'll warn me, hey, you got 5 minutes left of Instagram.
How many minutes does it allot you per day?
You can do whatever you want. So I did 30 minutes just to see. So my goal was to input 30 minutes, and then if I don't get close to it, drop it down to 25 and kind of like try to hit a PR every day.
Yeah.
But man, at 30 minutes, like if I'm doing,
probably burns up quick,
dude, one poop and it's done. You know, but it's really eye opening because I'm like, oh shit, like it's not even lunchtime and I'm done with my social media stuff.
Right.
So, but like I said, it's a huge eye opener and it's really helping because like get into bed or whatever and it's like, oh, let me see what's going on. And oh wait, I can't look at it. Guess I'm going to bed. And then at 9 o'clock, my whole phone shuts down. Like I can't view anything except for texts and phone calls or whatever if I have to make them. Other than that, I have to input my PIN number, which is obviously I know it and it's easy.
Right.
But I have to make the conscious effort to be like, I'm going to be a shithead right now and not go to sleep and put in my code to give myself permission to look at, Instagram or whatever.
Yeah, when I'm supposed to be sleeping and I want to sleep because I have a goal to be bigger and stronger.
Right.
Right. And then it's like, well, okay, now we're really pulling against like 17 different things at once. And that's kind of my point, is that people will make the right decision if there's enough good options there. Mm-hmm. And what you did with your phone is a good option. Mm-hmm. And then it presents you with a lot of things where you're smart enough to understand, like, this is not a good idea. Mm-hmm. I set this up this way. It wasn't preset by somebody else. I set it up this way. Mm-hmm. And now I'm not following my own rules, my own way that I wanted to do. And now I'm going to impede on my sleep. I just spent time reading and studying this book about sleep. Mm-hmm. I have the knowledge, I have the understanding, and I believe in a lot of the things that Matthew Walker shared. And now I'm going to be going against that. Mark tells me I need to get sleep to hit the gym hard. I already know that I need sleep because I've been there before when I haven't had a lot of sleep and it sucked. Mm-hmm. And I want to squat big tomorrow, and I want to be able to pull big, and I want to be able to do all these things. And it's just, it mounts up. But I think that when the things that you're trying to do that are harmful, If it stacks up against you in a negative way, you won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or if it stacks up in a way that doesn't look convenient, you'll go, oh, okay, I got it. You know, like for example, if you're at like I go to Phil's Coffee in Davis. Now they actually have nowadays they have some decent food options at Phil's. But let's just say I'm hungry and I'm leaving Phil's, I'm starving, and I see there's a pizza place right across the street. I might be like, oh man, I should go get pizza. Well, what if I went there and I had a prepped meal with me? You know, and the conversation to myself might be, you know what, I don't feel like eating the steak and rice. It's cold. You know, the food's cold. I don't have anywhere to heat it up. It would be nice to get a pizza, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's still pulling on me, right? But I can say, well, you know, you also packed a cheese stick and an apple, and you could just eat that, and then you could wait till you get home, and you can cook your stuff up there, or you can get to work, and you can microwave stuff at work.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it's like you have options that are not hard to do. They're not, and it's not hard to do at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually harder and would take longer to sit there and wait for the pizza and to be fat, and to know that when you eat the pizza, yeah, it's going to taste really good, but you're also going to have a lot of regret when you're eating it.
Yeah.
And you know, people need a good dose of like self-love. They need to not allow themselves to harm themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If you knew a really good friend was playing with fire and they were doing something really dumb, they were drinking a lot, and then they started, you know, and you're like, dude, how'd you get home? And you're like, well, I just drove. You'd be like, hey, man, like, okay, you can't be doing that. Like, you could kill yourself, you could kill somebody
Mm-hmm.
else. I mean, why are you doing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you need to have that conversation with yourself. Like, hey, fatso, like, why are you indulging on that pizza? Like, don't do it. Like, it's not good for your health. It's not good for your goals. It's not what you want to do. I'm not talking about if it's a cheat day and you put in a really good week of eating and it's a freebie, because everybody deserves those. But I'm talking about just a breakdown, you know, during the week, and the conversations that you should have with yourself to avoid those. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't allow it to happen. My wife went to a meeting the other day, and she brought some like prepped food with her, and she was like, "Everyone's gonna give me shit because I'm gonna like pull food out of my bag." Meanwhile, everybody's eating Guadalajara, which is amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
But she just knew there was gonna be junk there, and she didn't want to participate in that, so she like whipped out her food, you know. But I think that people should take pride in that. Like, no, fuck you. I don't eat what you eat.
Yeah.
Like, you're eating that? What are you doing eating that? Like, why are you eating that bullshit?
Mm-hmm.
I don't eat that way. Whoa, well, what do you eat? Here's what I eat. I eat potatoes and steak or whatever it is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, to me, it just shows you got a leg up on somebody. There's
Yeah.
nothing negative about it at all. It's all positive, really.
Yeah. My girlfriend's dad invited us to go have pizza the other night. And it's one of those like awesome build your own pizzas, like unlimited toppings, whatever you want. They have, you know, stuffed crust like all the way through the pizza, not just in the like the end of the pizza.
Oh.
And I was just like, dude, but we can't eat that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, come on, guys, let's go. And it's like, well, there's poke around the corner. You guys can have that, and we'll go get poke. And so when we brought it in, everyone's like, wait, what is that? And then it's like they can see like how fresh it was, and like it's colorful, and you know, it didn't take anything away from their meal, but it did feel pretty good to be in a really good pizza place, because pizza's my jam.
Mm-hmm.
But be happier to be eating something healthier. So that was like I think for both of us, we felt like that was a huge win.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you know, it goes against the grain, you know, it goes against exactly, you know, what was kind of, you know, in front of you. And it's important, you know, it's also important to, you know, have periods of time where you are not on the gas pedal so hard, but you got to be, you know, you got to be a little bit careful of some of that. But we always talk, you know, all the time about consistency.
Yeah.
And so if you're being consistent, you know, for long periods of time, I think usually you know about these situations, like the pizza thing. Like you kind of knew about it. So you can talk to yourself about it before you get there. And you can say, you know what? There's going to be pizza there. I don't want to have pizza. I know that I want to do something else. And then you could Google, oh, there's something right around the corner. Maybe we'll try to go there instead of falling into this pit of eating the pizza.
Mm-hmm.
At Thanksgiving, at Christmas, at these different times of year, you know that grandma's going to make something or your aunt's going to make something. And they make it every year, and you love it. Well, that's the time to eat that shit. You know, that's the time to say, you know what? I don't want to hurt her feelings. I don't want to be a bad sport. I'm diving in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Somebody makes it once a year. They make these special meatballs or whatever the hell it is.
Mm-hmm.
Just frickin' eat it, you know, and get it over with, you know.
Meatballs,
Mm-hmm.
marinara, mozzarella. Does anybody make something that you absolutely can't not eat?
Because it's too fat.
Just because you're too fat and it's too good.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Like I mean, my mom makes really good meatballs. And she cooks them in some sauce and cooks them with some it's like sausage in the sauce, and then it's just like this boily fat like conglomeration of amazingness.
Yeah.
I mean, when she makes them, I just eat them. I'm like, this is too good. This is too good to be true. But I mean, I'm sure it's clogging every artery, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's causing probably a lot of permanent damage. You know?
Right. Going back to sleep, I guess it's been shown, proven, everything, because a lot of people want to catch up on sleep. You know, it's like, I'm gonna have a hard workout tomorrow, but it's okay. I'm gonna get rest that night or whatever. It's been proven that you get more benefit from sleeping a lot more the night before a workout than after a workout. So the performance boost you get from the sleep the night before is better than the recovery you get the night after. That's not saying that the night after is bullshit and you can skip it.
Right.
But if you're going to really double down on one night, it's going to be the night before the workout.
Yeah. It all makes sense, and being prepared is something we talk about a lot in this podcast and stuff too. And actually, let's see, yesterday I wanted to come. I knew I wanted to get here at an early enough time so we could finish our workout, so I could get home, I could recharge, I can eat, I can do my walk, I can take my shower, I can do everything I need to do, and I can be prepped to get here at 6 a.m. for our squats. And so, I got here at 2, and we got through everything, and got home and rifled through everything. But before I came here, I took like about a 25-minute nap, 30-minute nap, somewhere in there. It actually might even been longer. But I was like, I want to get to the gym early, but man, I know that if I get a nap now, that'll be really productive for tomorrow. And that's what I was thinking of. I wasn't even that tired, but I also knew, like, hey, if I lay down, I'll probably pass out, And so that's what I did. And it ended up helping today. I woke up at 4, so still don't feel amazing, but, it helped.
Nice.
It helped to get that little extra snooze in there. I normally don't ever have time for a nap, so, I wish I had more time. What does the book talk about naps?
Very beneficial. We actually have our daughter, when she's studying for a test, and keep in mind she's only in 5th grade, but when she's studying for a test, we'll have her study and then take a nap and then take the test. And it's been so beneficial because what it does is it takes memory from short-term memory and converts it into long-term memory when you sleep. It's some brain connect whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, so she just basically needs to. She doesn't take the test necessarily right after napping. She just has to nap after she
Correct.
studies.
Yeah. And so earlier this week, she took a nap after working on her spelling, and then 2 days later, she aced the test. She's been having a hard time with like test taking. And she got 100%.
Nice.
Which it's huge. Like, we're like celebrating and stuff. Other than that, in like some countries, like I think I don't remember. Well, another country,
right,
where they completely shut down the entire like city for everyone to take their siesta. So they'll take a 90-minute nap. So this is where I was telling you and Andy about Matthew Walker recommending a 90-minute nap. It's just because it's been shown that they just live healthier longer. Not necessarily like they're not living to 200, but like at at 85, they're healthier than
Right.
we are without taking midday naps.
Hmm.
So it shows a lot of benefit in taking
Right.
a midday nap. However, if you are having a hard time sleeping throughout the night, taking a nap after like 2 o'clock is a horrible idea
Hmm.
because you're not going to want to be able to fall asleep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially if you take too long of a nap.
Correct.
you
Yeah.
know?
So
Usually it seems like kind of unless you have like real sleep problems and you got like apnea and stuff,
mhm.
it seems like whatever time you lay down for and get up from like seems appropriate, like it may not always feel great, but it seems like somewhere in that 20 to 40 minute time frame seems pretty good. And that's normally what I kind of conk out for. And you kind of talked about like your body having like an internal clock
Mhm.
and knowing the time. I mean, I'm really in tune with it. I think part of the reason is we have an alarm clock that shoots the number up on the ceiling. And so I can see the number kind of all the time. So like I'll go to the bathroom and I see it's like 1:30 and I'm like, okay, I'm waking up at 5. I'm like, okay, go back to bed.
Mhm.
And if I wake up, at 4 or something to pee again, then I'm like, okay, I got another hour.
Right.
But I think I've kind of always had that too because I've never really needed an alarm clock to wake up, except for on some occasions where I wake up really early. I might have it just to like, I would used to set it just to make sure I'd wake up. Now I don't even bother to set it because I don't want I don't want the anxiety of knowing that it's going to go off and then waking up because that kind of wakes you up in a panic too.
Yeah, and it leads to heart attacks, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And every time you hit snooze and you fall asleep and you wake up again, it's the same reaction as like a heart attack. And I do it all the time. Like I'll hit snooze 3 times, and it's like, dude, I just survived 3 heart attacks this morning.
Right.
And then I expect to like function after that. Like it's really bad.
It's kind of the same thing of like getting up in a rush, down a bunch of coffee. Like your body's not really designed for.
Yeah.
But once you do it, once you start to get into that habit, it feels like you need to do it all the time. And there's a lot of science, a lot of research too, showing like if you make yourself accountable and just wake up earlier all the time, you'll figure almost everything else out.
Mm-hmm.
And things like coffee and these different things, you start to kind of learn like waking up at 5 a.m. is just waking up at 5 a.m. Like coffee doesn't even make a dent. It doesn't come close. The only thing that's going to help is if you go to bed earlier. And so that's why I try to recommend to people, set your alarm at night to get yourself to bed. If you're going to have any sort of alarm or alert or whatever you want to call it, I put something on my phone. It's at 7:30, and I don't go to bed at 7:30. I probably go to bed at 8:30. But I know at 7:30 I can kind of look at that and be like, okay, now it's time to figure out, am I going on a 20-minute walk or did I get that done already? Do I need a shower? Like, what do I need to do to make sure that I'm in bed at the right time? Because that's what I've learned. It takes me, like, everything takes me a long time. It takes me like 2 hours to get out of my house. I don't know why. There's nobody's in the way. It's nobody's fault, just me. But it takes me forever. If you just called me and I was like, just coming from getting out of a shower or something, and you're like, hey man, I need you at the gym, it'd take me 2 hours. Unless it's like emergency, then it's going to take me forever. But I know that about myself. I know how long these things take. I'm going to eat. I'm going to poop. I'm going to make sure I have everything with me. And it's just anyway, you can get yourself back on track very easy by just trying to wake up earlier. So, and another thing too, anybody who's having a really hard time staying asleep, sleeping is like training. And you need to treat it as such. Sleeping is like eating. You're not going to be good at it at first. Somebody says, hey, you know what, man, you got to really clean up your diet. And you're like, okay, what do I need to eat? And they give you a list of food. And, day one, you stop at Whole Foods and you get a rotisserie chicken. And then you buy some rice cakes. And then the rotisserie chicken's cold later in the day and you don't want to eat it. And you're like, oh, I don't want to. And you make some weird choices because you don't know what you're doing. But somebody told you to eat chicken, they told you to eat rice, and you're trying to figure out these things as you go along. Well, you spent all this money on this rotisserie chicken from Whole Foods. You spent money on buying some other things from there. But now you're trying to, roll through In-N-Out Burger because you're trying to get the Flying Dutchman because you're trying to eat low carb or whatever the case is. But you kind of get my point. you don't know what you're about to get yourself into yet. You don't know how to diet yet. You don't know what you're doing. And so think about when a kid comes to you and they draw something and they say, that's a terrible drawing. and they feel bad about it, right? They're like, I know this is terrible drawing, but here's this anyway. And you're like, okay, well, maybe that's not as good of a drawing as you want.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want it to be better, then you have to draw. A kid will pick up drums, right? And they'll start wailing on the drums.
Pounding.
Yeah, just pounding on them. And as they get older, like when they're young, they'll think they're great, right? But as they get older, they'll be like, that was not very good, right? Like, I'm not that good at drums. No, actually, that's not really true. That's not even a fair assessment. Mm-hmm. You've never really played the drums before. How are you expecting to be good at this? That doesn't make any sense. I think some of that comes from sports, because sports, you just grab a ball and then Billy is over there nailing threes and you don't know what happened. Mm-hmm. And this other kid's dunking in 6th grade. And you just think that you're bad at a bunch of different stuff that you never even really worked on before. Mm-hmm. But everything needs to be worked on. If you're going to be a good baseball player, then you need to get your ass in the batting cage. If you're going to be a good football player, then you better be practicing trying to catch. You better be practicing all the different drills that you need to be a good football player. You better be lifting weights. You better be in good shape. If Jerry Rice had to train really hard to be the best, then that means everybody has to.
Right. Yeah, and if you're talking about practicing, but also the preparation, like nobody knows. We all go to sleep, but nobody really thinks about preparing for bed. The way you have your alarm clock to go to bed.
Yeah.
But like just simple things like like the cell phone is on the nightstand, and I like to read right before I go to bed. Mm-hmm. That blue light in that cell phone can suppress your serotonin by like 30%.
Right.
So by time
you can do stuff to your phone to combat that, or it doesn't work?
It works, but
what about the glasses, the Dave Asprey weird orange glasses?
So those work, but it's just not enough. Like the best option is just to not do it. Like my glasses have a blue filter also, but it's not enough.
Can you see my farts then?
I didn't want to tell you, but yeah.
Oh my god!
So just
I've been lighting it up over here.
Just to the right of you is all purple right now. Okay. It's like the Joker or something.
Big ass purple cloud over there.
Yeah, but when your serotonin and your melatonin is suppressed, it actually takes time to build that back up, and by time it builds back up, the alarm clock is going off, so you're waking up even more tired. And it's not necessarily because you are extra tired. It's just your body's like, well, fuck, man, I've been trying to build up your sleep pressure this whole all night long. Now you're trying to get up. Like, the fuck am I doing here then?
Right.
But I think
you're supposed to be away from your phone for like an hour or two before you go to bed. That's like kind of the recommendation, right?
I think so. Yeah. He didn't mention anything like that in the book, but I mean that's a easily accomplished thing.
Well, and I also think too, like, go a little bit by your history. Like, are you struggling to go to sleep? Mm-hmm. And be honest with that. And also, are you well rested? Do you feel really good every day, or do you crash midday? These are all things that are important to assess. My wife probably does about every single thing that you can imagine, like, quote unquote, wrong in terms of her sleep. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't know anybody healthier. I mean, she's very, very healthy, but she also has been very health conscious for a long time. She also has swam, thousands of miles in her lifetime. Mm-hmm. And so maybe she's healthy kind of despite some of her bad habits, like maybe not, because of these habits. Like, she likes to drink, and, that drinking is not great for your sleep. But then she still wakes up at 5:30 and still goes swimming and kicks everybody's ass when she goes and does it. Mm. But anyway, if you're somebody that's listening to this and you struggle with your sleep, or someone that struggles with their sleep, some of the questions are, are you tired? Do you feel tired? If you feel tired, then you're going to have to start to make some changes, and make one change at a time. Don't feel like you got to go in and clean house right away. Mm-hmm. That just is it's just usually not very effective. Try to do it like one thing at a time, or two really small things at a time. The request to not look at your phone an hour ahead of time, I don't think is too stressful, too demanding. I think everyone can do that. I don't see a real reason to look at your phone. Some people like to look at the time. Glancing at it for a half second, probably not going to kill you. But if you're somebody who fidgets with it, you got to put it in another room.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get rid of that thing. And something that's helped me a lot is the tape. Taping up your mouth has helped a ton.
I still want to try it, but man, I feel like I just won't be able to breathe.
You'll be fine.
My nose is so stuffy at night. I think it's because those damn cum trees.
I have like little bit different pillow I've been using too a little lately to try to bring my chin up a little bit. I think that I tend to sleep more with my chin down. And I sent you a message the other day. Somebody said like when you remember, your head is up, and when you think, your head is down. There's some people who believe in like all these kind of yin and yang type of weird things, and some people don't or whatever. But I think that actually makes some sense, and they say that your kind of storage unit, if you will, is in the back of your head. It's located, and all the sleep mechanisms and mechanics and everything is located in the back of your head. And so when you go to sleep, the guy recommended like remembering yourself to sleep rather than thinking yourself to sleep. So if you think about coming in here and kicking some ass, you're trying to have some good positive thoughts about bench press, that'll probably stir you up and give you too much anxiety to really fall asleep effectively. So instead, you try to remember yourself to sleep. Maybe you remember a really awesome Christmas that you had when you were a kid. Everyone has like those things they can pull. Everyone has things from their past they can pull on that can make them cry in a second, right? And everybody has those things from the past that they can pull upon and be like, that was an amazing day. Like, I will never forget that. That was so much fun. My uncle took me on a boat and we caught a big fish or whatever it is, right? But we can all pull on those things. And I've been actually messing with it lately, and I've been trying to like remember my way to sleep. And I don't have a ton of problems falling asleep. My biggest problem is getting up a lot. And so the mouth tape has helped because it helps your body to produce more CO2 when you're breathing out through your nose. That's what's happening. And so just from the information I got, from what I've seen, it says that will help your muscles to relax more. Your body should become paralyzed when you sleep. And you should actually kind of feel that sometimes. When you wake up sometimes, you should be like, oh my God, I kind of can't move. Not because anything like fell asleep or anything like that, but it should almost feel kind of numb. It should take you a few seconds to be like, oh shit, like, am I still connected to my legs?
Right.
And then you start to move around. You're like, okay, good. Everything's still working. But
when I fall asleep on my sides, my arms will fall asleep.
Yeah, my arms fall asleep a lot.
And then the other day,
with your arm up or your arm? Oh,
both arms fell asleep the other day. And then my alarm clock went off, and my hands were like 100% not even mine anymore at that point. That's crazy. I was fumbling my phone, and I just couldn't. My girlfriend's getting pissed because I can't turn it off. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't get it. And then eventually I just accidentally pushed a button to get it to turn off. But yeah, no, it's like if my hand's up like under the pillow or down, like I can't.
Oh, even if your hand is down, it will still fall asleep just if you're on your side?
Yeah, I think because like I'm real crouched, like just hunched over on it. It's really uncomfortable. I have to figure out what the hell to do.
I absolutely love to fall asleep face down. I love it. I don't know why. It calms me down, and I just pass right out. But my arms fall asleep every time. And I actually fucked myself up years ago. I actually think that it was... So when I was going for a 600-pound bench, I benched 555 in the gym. I think it was for 3. I don't remember. Maybe it was 3 reps. I don't know. Whatever it was a huge PR. I smashed it. Fucking smashed it. It was an awesome day. And I was like, okay, what else can I do in the gym so I don't hurt myself? And because the meet was getting close. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just do like some tricep push downs or something because I just want kind of a bullshit exercise, kind of finish up the day. And I went heavy on it. I kind of felt a little thing in my elbow, but I didn't really notice much. And I did another exercise or two, and I was out the door. The next night, I went to Vegas for something. I can't even remember what it was. I remember sleeping face down. Both my arms fell asleep, and I remember like rolling over, like, trying to roll over in my sleep. But I was like, oh my God, I just rolled over and my arm was like in this crazy weird position.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, that's going to fucking hurt. And then later that day, my elbow started to hurt. It was all jacked up. And as I was prepping for the meet, I couldn't bench anything.
Shit.
And I was like, man, there's something's going on with my arm. Something's going on. Talk about fuck your elbow, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, something's going on with my arm. I don't know what it is. And anyway, it took me a few weeks, and my arm finally recovered and finally healed up. But that was kind of the hitch and the giddy up of the 600-pound bench, because that's what I was going for at the time. I went to the meet. I blasted up 578, and it just flew up. It looked like everything was going.
Mm.
I took 600 out of the rack. It felt light, and when I went to press it, as soon as my arms needed to kind of kick in for it, on my right side it just wasn't there.
Mm.
And then I actually tore my pec, but I tore my pec because my elbow was jacked up.
Damn.
And it was just a minor tear. The spotters grabbed the weight right away and everything, but I think it was from my sleep.
Wow.
I think it was from just, sleeping weird. I don't know. What do they say about, like, what position should you sleep in?
Didn't say anything about that. At least not that I can remember.
Yeah.
I forget a lot of shit, but that's funny. Well, because like even Shaw was talking about sleeping on his stomach messed him up too. Like he had zero grip.
He couldn't grab like a frying pan. He couldn't hold a frying pan.
Yeah. If I lay down, if I fall asleep on my stomach, like I won't be able to move the next day. That jacks up my back.
Oh, I'm sure it kills your back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But sleeping on my back hurts. But once I get through the pain, then I'm actually able to pass out. But then I start snoring.
Oh, if you sleep on your back.
Yeah. You
ever tried putting like a towel behind your head? Ever try that? Like you roll up a towel, it might like leave your neck up. I did that the other day for a nap, and it worked pretty good.
It's like under the neck area, not like on the head to.
Yeah. Like underneath the little battery pack that's back there.
Okay. Gotcha.
That might help a little bit, but it'll also, like, your neck will feel weird because you probably haven't done it before.
Mm-hmm.
So it might feel, I don't know, man. I tried all kinds of different. I got all kinds of different pillows. I tried CPAP machines. I've tried so many different things. I was never able to adapt to a CPAP machine.
Mm-hmm.
That thing was just not. It was just not working for me. But anyway, it takes a great practice to sleep, and it's something that you should try to work on. So if you really struggle, you might want to try to get a Fitbit or some of these rings. There's a Motive ring. There's an Aura ring. They're all pretty effective. They're not 100% accurate. They don't always tell you the whole story. But at least it's a way to track your sleep. Something I've done over the years is I've just recorded myself sleeping, which sounds really funny. And not video, just audio. Just I want to see, like, if I was snoring and how much I was snoring.
If it's video, we can probably sell that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I've been known to do some weird stuff in my sleep, so we could definitely sell it for sure.
I've heard of this.
I know, it's not good.
So how did the audio go then?
It sounded like a lot of fapping was going on. No, just I mean, even with the mouth tape, I was still snoring a little bit. But it was nothing like aggressive. I mean, it was pretty mild. I don't even know if snoring is bad. I don't know. Like, maybe all snoring is not bad, just like all farts aren't bad, just like Charles was saying on the podcast the other day. Anyway, before we head on out, I want to kind of get back to some of these points and about, kind of believing in yourself. That was a really good discussion about sleep, and hopefully people take it as serious as their training, and just realize, man, it's going to take a lot of practice. It's going to take a lot of practice to get used to that, and you're going to have days where you get 5 hours of sleep, and you're going to have days where you get 8 hours of sleep, but you want to try to consistently find something that works for you.
Yeah. And like you said, there's just a handful of easy things to do that take zero effort. The phone thing is one, but that does take some effort, but just make the room a little bit colder.
Yeah.
That helps. Go to sleep and wake up at the same time every day. Don't sleep in on the weekends. That's going to mess you all up again. So just every day, same time at night, same time in the day. Those two things will get you right on your way.
Yeah, I pretty much wake up around the same time almost every day. I mean, there's some exceptions. I would say I might have a 1 or 2 hour swing here and there, but not too bad.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff we were talking about earlier, and we beat this to hell on this podcast, but I think it's important, and I want to share things with people, kind of as I learn more stuff, and as things come to me, I want to share them with you guys. So another thing that I found really interesting is we were talking earlier about happiness and success and all these different things. Happiness doesn't come from big pieces of great success, but it comes from small advantages hammered out day by day. And again, that was another thing that Benjamin Franklin said. And if you really think about, what that means is you're not going to become an overnight success. Like there's really not such a thing. Where you're going to have success and where things are going to feel the best to you. Because again, you need to have some sort of mental stability during all this.
Right.
If you're going to be working hard and you're going to try to be successful, having the stability and the coping mechanisms necessary to acquire and obtain more wealth and to acquire and obtain the responsibilities that come along with more success, being more well-known, being famous. These things are going to all take coping mechanisms, and if you don't hammer things out step by step, you're going to be missing pieces of the puzzle that would otherwise make you strong enough to handle all those things. So you can't really. You're going to hear of some people here and there that get to skip over things, or you're going to hear people bitch and complain and pretend that somebody else was able to skip over it, but if you really think about it, they weren't. Justin Bieber, he was discovered on YouTube. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, people are going to think whatever they're going to think of that. Oh, he's whatever. He didn't really work for it or whatever you want to say. Well, how is it that he became such a success after he was discovered on YouTube? Because that was only the start. That was one small step in his life. Now, looking back at it, it's this giant pivot point that everybody talks about. But if you actually really think about it, whether you hate him or not or whatever, he must be a very talented kid to be able to hold on for that long. And he still sells. I mean,
yeah,
it's not like people aren't buying his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
People still buy his stuff. So you don't have the opportunity to skip out on these things. You still have to have these kind of, and I like the term advantages. These are small advantages hammered out every day. And the advantage is the work. Like, how cool is that to look at work as leverage? Like, if I put in this work, this is leverage towards my future. This is leveraging me to be in a better position for tomorrow. Like, that's an outstanding philosophy to have. Most people are like, man, I got to do, I got to do this thing and it's going to suck.
As long as that you don't look at those advantages like every single second of every single day. Because then you're going to miss out on the family stuff or the personal development, like what you always preach.
Yeah, and you have, we always talk about it too. You got to have time to dick around. You got to have there's got to be some time. That's something that's important is you have to, one thing I heard the other day, and this is actually amazing. Don't start your day. Don't start your day until it's finished. And what the guy meant by that is, don't start a day that you didn't already at least halfway plan out. You should plan out your day a little bit. Like, what is it going to look like? You already know certain things are going to happen at certain times. Why not jot some of it down? Like for us, for today, you could say squat 6 a.m., podcast 9-ish, and then whatever else you're going to do after post-production. You could throw in, another thing or two, and then you're out at whatever time you end up leaving. You could have at least some of it written out. But then he goes further and says, don't start your week until your week is planned.
Jeez.
Don't start your month until your month is planned. And don't start your year until your year is planned. And I was like, holy shit. I'm like, I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
But man, he's got a good point. This is all from Jim Rohn, the guy I listen to all the time. He's got a really good point because as I've moved forward and as I've had more responsibilities, it's so much easier for me to be like, oh yeah, November 3rd, I'm over here. November 3rd, I'm in Arizona, and November 7th, we got a guest coming in, and over here we got this going on, and then I'm gone for Thanksgiving for a week, and this is happening, that's happening.
And then you go behind the bush.
Yeah, and you're gonna go over there and you're just gonna suck the guy's dick, and then yeah.
Meet the Millers, or we are the Millers.
So good.
Yeah. You want to hammer out a couple of fan questions?
Just want to finish this last couple things. So these are
Okay.
the 3 keys to success from Benjamin Franklin. Life is plastic. I mentioned that earlier. You should be able to kind of shape your life and tone your life into whatever it is that you want to make it up to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that by the things that you pick and you choose. And everybody already does that.
Mm-hmm.
You chose your friends. You chose where you live. You chose your car. You make these decisions. Now, some people have maybe better options than others, but you do choose all these things. You choose a certain pair of glasses. You choose a certain style of hat. These are all things that you choose. So you choose every single thing about your life. You choose your partner. You choose your it's something that is so ridiculously obvious, but you get to choose all that.
Mm-hmm.
You get to choose whether you sit down and watch SpongeBob SquarePants or whether you read a book. Like watching SpongeBob SquarePants is great, and we all need downtime, and we all need time to do that kind of like mindless stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned earlier, we need dicking around time. You might come up with brilliant ideas watching SpongeBob, but we also need times where we're going to investigate and learn more about the things that we want to do to be better. Last thing is success is a pleasure. That's something that's really important. So if you're walking around with resting bitch face all the time on your way to success, then you're kind of missing out on some of it because success should be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I've always shared with my kids, when they play sports and when they've done different things where there's competition involved, I always say to them, and maybe it's the reason why they don't play sports, but I'd always say to them, you'll always feel better when you're winning.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not going to sit here and preach to you about, we got to train and we got to go all out and all these things, but the game itself will be more fun if you're kicking ass. If you hit the ball, it'll be more fun.
Mm-hmm.
If you strike someone out, it'll be more fun. If you hit a home run, it'll even be more fun. If you hit the game-winning home run, it'll even be more fun. If you catch the game-winning touchdown, it'll be more like all these things. It's so much more fun when you're kicking ass. It's so much more fun to get stronger. It's so much more fun to have progress. And so that's a huge part of success. And people they don't really think about it that much.
Yeah.
I'm ready to hammer out some questions.
From one of probably top 3 best screen names we've had, Mr. Butt Plug.
Oh wow! Hey, is that Kelly Starrett?
Oh yeah, the butt plug. That's right. I didn't
Yeah.
even think of that. He's just asking. I think it's a he.
Hey,
but
please, no
let's see.
free plugs on this podcast.
Right.
You're gonna have to pay for that butt plug.
Just asking if you take apple cider vinegar.
I've used apple cider vinegar. I know that if you want to find out more information about it, you should look into Paul Chek.
Gotcha.
Just YouTube Paul Chek apple cider vinegar, and he's got some information on there for you. Some people love it. I never noticed one thing one way or the other with it, and so I don't utilize it. I think Rob Wolf may talk about it as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know a ton about apple cider vinegar. I know that when I've asked Rhino about it, he wasn't a fan because he thinks it can pull nutrients from your body. But other people like it.
I think because he has a sensitive stomach and it hurts my stomach, so I think that's why he probably doesn't like it.
Yeah, it tastes gross.
Yeah, anyway. Nicholas Barkley, I'm not sure where he got his info, but his question is, other than the squat, what has been the most beneficial movement in your life?
The most beneficial movement in my life. That is a really interesting question. I've never been asked that before. Most beneficial movement in my life. Shit. I think so. I think that a squat has to be up there. I know that he said with the exception of the squat, but the squat, because most people during their day and during their week and during their month and during the course of a year, they may never actually like break parallel like in their day-to-day life, which is a weird thing to think about. Your toilet's not low enough. A lot of time couches and chairs aren't low enough. And so your hip is very rarely below your knee. Your hip crease is very rarely below your kneecap. And so then we wonder why we have so many back issues and so many hip issues. And it's because people just don't move enough. And so I think a squat's a great movement. And And I think that deadlifting is great because hip hinging and building up the lower back, I think, is really important.
Mhm.
I would add in there, I don't do enough. I don't do enough unilateral stuff. And I wish I did more of it. I just need to incorporate it more.
Mhm.
But unilateral stuff, just being like things like lunges, Bulgarian split squats, probably more so for the lower body than the upper body. Upper body stuff's good too, but you just need movement. You need to figure out ways of moving quite a bit. And anyway, to answer the question, I would just say deadlift.
Okay. K Hag is following in your footsteps, trading in powerlifting shoes for a banana hammock.
Oh.
Yeah, his question's a little bit broad, but let's see what you think because you're kind of going through it right now, anyways. But when would you start bulking after losing all the powerlifting fat? So I'm assuming post show, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that I'm kind of I'm not really like bulking necessarily. I'm just not on a real strict diet. I didn't want to choose to like try to bulk because bulking is the same thing as cutting,
Mm-hmm.
and the meal frequency is still really high, and the amount of food you got to eat is still really high. And I wish I did, but I just don't have the I'm not mentally ready to do that quite yet at the level that I want to do it at. So I have not dove into that. But anyway, I think what I run into a lot is people will say, I want to cut up, or I want to I want to I want to get bigger. I want more muscle and I want to be stronger. And I'll ask them what diet they're on. They're like, "Oh, I'm following your war on carbs." And I'll say, "Okay, well that's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm glad you followed it. I'm glad it helped you lose some weight."
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing they'll say, "But I want to get leaner before I start bulking." And that's kind of a mistake because you can get leaner with a bodybuilding style diet. You can get leaner with carbohydrates. Again, the reason why the keto style diet works and the reason why the war on carbs has been so effective for me and many of the people that bought the book and many people that have checked it out and many people that practiced it, the reason why it's so effective is because it helps get rid of that carb craving cycle. You eat fat, your body starts to run off the fat, and your body gets used to how it feels off of fat. And so sometimes people will feel a lot better, and oftentimes it just helps get rid of a lot of those cravings, and it helps keep the calories moderate to low, which is what helps you lose weight, helps you lose body fat. But then people will kind of be like, "Oh man, I'd love to eat some carbs maybe around the workout or get a little boost so I can be like get like a pump and just
Mhm.
different things." And just say, "But I'm not lean enough to do that yet."
Mm.
And my answer to that is you should switch your diet up. If you're currently on a low carb diet or currently intermittent fasting and you've been doing it for a while and you've already gotten some results from it, if you just started and you haven't gotten anywhere with it, then ride it out and lose some weight. But in any event, even if you're 20% body fat and you want to get stronger and you want to have more muscle, you should be eating some carbohydrates. And the reason why is your performance in the gym will be better. If your performance in the gym is enhanced, then your body fat levels will improve. Now, here's where it can get a little tricky. You will have to figure out, am I going to start to really cut down on some calories? Am I going to start doing some cardio? Am I going to, do this for 2 or 3 months where I have, 200 grams of carbs a day? And then am I going to start to cut the carbs down and then shift into like more like a keto diet or whatever? Because you should be shifting and moving with whatever goal you have.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the key is like whatever goal you have, pick the appropriate diet. But it's a mistake to think that carbs are going to make you fat. Carbs don't make you fat. You make yourself fat by eating the wrong type of carbohydrates and just overconsumption of food. I'm not a calories in, calories out person because there's just way too much that goes into all that from a hormone and chemical standpoint in your body. However, it does matter to some degree. And usually when you eat things like pizza, you don't eat like one slice and just write down that you ate X amount of calories of pizza. Normally you eat like 6 slices and you eat all the little twisty breads things with them and dip them in ranch
Mm-hmm.
like I do. And that's usually what ends up leading to fat gain. So for this guy in particular, if you're not currently adding in some carbs or whatever, add some carbohydrates into your diet. Keep them low though, just 100, 150, something like that should be plenty of carbohydrates to keep you fueled, but not make you gain any fat.
Biggest super fan of the show, Steven Granzella, asks, what size polo is that?
This is a 3X.
There you go. Smokey, you should be working. What are you doing? Anyway, any more questions, or do you got to get out of here?
I'm good.
Okay.
Unless there's another good one or two.
Just the passing of Charles Poliquin.
Oh, yeah. That's brutal. Yeah, I've been a huge fan of Charles Poliquin since since I first found out about him. Mm-hmm. And I've bought and purchased every single book that he's ever written. I bought a lot of his supplements. He's not only supplements that he's helped design, but I've also bought supplements that he's recommended. I followed a lot of his stuff in like a cult-like fashion. I followed a lot of his stuff in a religious fashion. I remember doing a lot of his arm workouts because Charles was kind of known for slapping on some size on the arms. Mm. And so I did a lot of his, he had a book called Winning the Arms Race. And I remember actually doing some of those workouts with John Cena back in the day. And those workouts had a huge impact on my arms. My arms were actually, my arms aren't as big as they were, but my arms got big from doing a lot of stuff that Charles shared. And Charles is, he's somebody that brought tempo training to the forefront. He's somebody that brought fish oil to the forefront. He's somebody that brought branched chain amino acids to the forefront. He was forward thinking. He was a pioneer. He was a friend. He's gonna be missed greatly. And I talked often. I've actually said on this podcast before, I'm like, man, when that guy dies, it's gonna really suck because we're not gonna. There's not another mind that's like him. Nobody knows the information that he knows. Luckily for us, a lot of people have gone to his seminars. A lot of people have seen what the strength sensei is capable of doing. And Charles came to super training at one point, which was like a dream come true for me because I've been such a huge fan. Actually, I remember probably sometime in maybe 2000 or so, or 2001, somewhere in there. I can't really remember the exact year. But anyway, I've known of him for a long time, and he was a highly sought after coach. He's coached many Olympic athletes. He coached Olympic medalists in 22 different sports, which is just unbelievable because normally a coach is kind of confined to, one particular sport or just a few. But he had an insane amount of knowledge. But I called him sometime in early 2000, and I remember being so nervous to get on the phone with him. I actually had a friend who set up the call and said, hey, you better be ready with questions. He doesn't have time for bullshit. And so I wrote down like 3 questions. I can't remember what I asked him, but I just remember, barely being able to speak just like people when they meet me at seminars and stuff.
Yeah.
I was that person. I was that fan, and I was really nervous to talk to him. But what was cool is he kept the relationship, and he gave me his email, and we continued to communicate. And he helped me, and I was nobody. I wasn't lifting anything big then. I wasn't Mark Bell, the power lifter. I wasn't Mark Bell, the business guy. I was nothing. And I always thought that was cool that he was willing to put time into me and everything like that. And then he came to Super Training Gym, and you guys have seen me squat before, and I squat with my hands all the way out, to the collars of the bar, and that's due to lack of mobility in my thoracic spine and in my shoulders. Charles came to the gym and he pulled on my ears and he jabbed a pen cap into the bed nail of my finger. And all this shit hurt really bad. And he did a couple other small adjustments. And not only was I able to get under the bar a lot easier with my hands closer, but I was able to get the bar down my back and get the bar really low. And if you go back and watch some of the video, it's also when I'm really, really chubby. Probably a good 290 pounds or so. The face is real round. And it was just amazing, though. He just he was a true sensei in a way. He was a great coach, and in some way, he was also like Yoda.
Mhm.
He just had these kind of magical powers. And we're watching the video right now for those of you watching on the YouTube feed. We're watching some of it right now, and he's jabbing this pen into my finger, and that shit hurt really bad.
I'll link it in the description and iTunes show notes.
Yeah, it's pretty. I'm like laughing because it just like made me want to shit my pants.
You look like you're about to cry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we lost a really good one, and it sucks, man, because all that information was trapped inside that head of his. But luckily, a lot of people went to his seminars, and his message and a lot of his knowledge can be carried around by those that he's impacted. I know Matt Wenning and Ed Cohn. They've done some seminars with him, as well as Stan Efferding, and we're all saddened and we're all heartbroken by the loss of Charles Poliquin. He was an ass kicker. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later.